the potential with millions of Africans in the region. However, to realize this potential, we have to consolidate the regional committee under the leadership of the Northern and region representative. Next slide. Yes.
Currently, our region consists of interim chairperson in Chimurenga Salambao, interim secretary Tiffany Murphy. This needs to be updated, but Umini for Earth is here as the membership coordinator. Treasurer is Kiangozi Banamu. Agitation and propaganda is Dexter Mlimwengo. And I am serving as the Northern Regional Coordinator for ANWO, and I'm also the president. We have vacant positions of Outreach Coordinator, Economic Development, and Impediment Regional Coordinator. And there are more positions that need to be filled in order for us to really consolidate this committee. But I also want to say that this committee is not representative of what the party is asking us to be. There's a contradiction in the work of leading this region, and party members are coming into 2021 are going to have to respond to the call of the chairman, respond to the call of building the regional committees and building the regional work in a more principled way. Next slide. So some of the things that we have to do immediately is to identify the Northern Regional Representative, establish party units in all the states in the region. And the Northern region of the United States consists of starting at the Maine as the top state all the way down to Virginia. And we want to make sure that we can establish not only, we want to get membership, but we also want to establish branches and start to consolidate the way that we interact with one another so that we can actually put out African internationalism in the Northern region. We also want to increase our mass organizations presence in the region. We have currently membership, mass organization presence right now with ANWO in DC and Philadelphia and New York. And we also have an Impediment branch in New York as well. But that's, it's insignificant when it comes to what we should be doing as a Northern region. Next slide.
One Africa, One Nation marketplace. Next slide. Tremendous advancements for the Northern region. Northern region is to be transferred ownership of the One Africa, One Nation marketplace in 2021. If we can fill those positions. And we've been going through trainings, putting everything together in place. We participated in the operations of the market. The last time it was in full swing in Clark Park. But now we're working on getting everything together so we can run the market fully. Next slide. Flea markets are an economic development project of Black Star Industries, African People's Education and Defense Fund. Next slide. This is some historical graphics from the rural marketplace. Then it turned into the rural flea market. Now it's the One Africa, One Nation marketplace. Next slide.
Northern regional work in 2020. Next slide. Before I go into the regional work in 2020, I do want to really talk about the history of the party in the Northern region, because the party has been in existence in this region for decades. We answered the call when, Philadelphia police dropped a bomb on the MOVE organization in Philadelphia. And since then, we've been in Philadelphia organizing through our political campaigns, through the reparations work, through the economic work. We are in New York City, we are in Washington, DC, we are in the Northern region. And, the legacy of the party and its influence in the party, the influence in the Northern region goes beyond what we are able to capture in these slides. But I just wanted to say that in the chairman's leadership and, consistent, the consistent pushing for the party to be what it needs to be in this region, and the criticisms that have come as a result of, really not living up to what the party is calling on us to do is clear. And I don't want to make this something that is despotic or anything like that, but I think that from what we heard yesterday in the political report and where we are at now, we have a desire in this region to be way better than what we are right now. And even though these couple of slides are going to talk to you about some of the work that we've done in 2020, it can definitely be improved, and we can lead on all of the issues the party is calling us to do for African people. So in 2020, we participated in the Women's March here in Washington, D.C. Women's March is a white-led women's movement initiative to combat, I guess, how white women are feeling around their vulnerability, and particularly under Trump's presidency. And so we intervened in that process by participating as obviously the African People's Socialist Party and the African National Women's Organization to help African women understand that our responsibility as African women is to fight against colonialism, and to help everybody else understand like the basis for what they're marching against right now is not, the women's issue, but it's the capitalist colonialism. Next slide. This also happened in the Northern region. ANWO, the African National Women's Organization, was initially supposed to happen in Philadelphia, but because of the pandemic, we had to pivot and we had it online. But this was also happening in the Northern region, which we were organizing African women to be a part of revolutionary political life. And we had a really great, lineup happening. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we couldn't really initiate the face-to-face contact and organizing that we had anticipated. Next slide. So we also have, in this year, we had to pivot with the One Africa, One Nation marketplaces. And we initiated through the process of the ODC and APDF, the pop-up markets led by Tiffany Murphy. And pop-up markets allowed us to have an in-person interaction with all the people who support the One Africa, One Nation marketplaces. Initially, we had them in Clark Park in Philadelphia. However, because of the pandemic, we had to switch, and we set up for once every 4 months over the spring and summer months to be over in front of the Uhuru Furniture Philadelphia store. It was a really fantastic experience and allowed the Northern region to still be politically active, allow the vendors that we work with to still get resources by participating in the marketplace. It was a really winning experience. Next slide.
Uhuru Punch. This is something that the party had sold in the Northern region in the past. It has been resurrected and has been well received. During my time in Oakland working with the Uhuru Foods, I had the opportunity to make the sorrel with a woman named Lynette. And she gave me a pretty good recipe. So we brought it back to life and started selling it at the pop-up markets, and it did well. And this is going to be one of the economic sustainers for the Northern region, along with vending food. Next slide.
Because of the pandemic, we usually have the African Liberation Day. The Northern region of the African People's Socialist Party in the United States is responsible for helping to organize the African Liberation Days. I have all these things wrapped up in my mouth. African Liberation Day, which is a huge event where we take the lead politically in this region and help people understand that we are not yet free, and that African Liberation Day means organizing ourselves and preparing for freedom. So this year we pivoted from being in person as we usually are, and we did a fantastic 2-day event virtually online using the party's platform. Next slide.
The People's War, COVID-19 outreach in our region. When the pandemic hit, there was no information getting out, and the chairman called for everybody to go out under the War Commission led by Dr. Aisha Fields and get the information out to the people. Next slide. And you can see with Philadelphia, Comrade Mattoon going to work. In Boston, there's Dexter putting in work. And then there I am in the DC area. We had to go out at night because DC was totally shut down. So we struck at night and spared no foe to get the information out to the people. Next slide. Shoot.
So as another part of our pivot, because the party doesn't stop with the pandemic and the colonial virus, we're going to keep on moving. And as part of the People's War Campaign, we were instructed to move our recruitment efforts online with the Recruitment Webinar. So this is just a couple of screenshots from 3 of the webinars that we held, the last one being one focused on African women, which was super dynamic. And I'm so appreciative of all of the African women in our party who participated in that, and we will bring it back. But you can also see here that we had one based on the whole question of defunding the police, which was a huge call after the police shootings of George Floyd and of Breonna Taylor and other Africans who have been killed by the police. Next slide.
The Black is Back Coalition marched in the White House. This was a good one. There was the day that they announced the white ruling class presidential election winner. And we organized and had probably 400 to 500 people in that march, I believe it was, and took it to the middle of the celebration and put out African internationalism and let them know who we supported. You know, the call was 2468.
Tell the people who
we hate. Yeah, Democrats, the whole damn bunch.
Let me keep it here for a second. So the Black People's March on the White House is organized by the Black is Back Coalition. And as the party in the northern region of the United States, it's our responsibility to help organize and bring some of many of the people who will be participating at this march. So we convened in Washington, D.C., because we have it in Washington, D.C. every year. And it was really a successful event. And, everybody from the organizers in the Black is Back Coalition to the party members and party forces who participated in this was really dynamic. And, we were on our way to this march when all of a sudden in DC, we heard people honking the horns and cheering and, goading you because the announcement did come down that Joe Biden had been announced the president. And then when we marched through those streets, it was fantastic because the party, created curiosity on one hand, confusion on the other. But also, I think that a lot of unity from people who needed to hear from Black people what we desire, which is not, a white face or a Black face to the white imperialism, capitalist imperialism, but for African people to have Black power, and Black power is not represented in this context. Next slide.
Here's some outreach going on. You see myself, Comrade Shabaka, and Annual Force speeches. In the streets in Southeast DC, putting up posters. It was it was well received by most. We had some people coming right behind us tearing the posters down. These were Africans that didn't have unity with it, but
the state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. State controlled mine. And then you see the picture on the right. There was one night, Comrade and I went out. It was just scorched earth. This is on a construction site, breezeway over a sidewalk, a well-traveled road, and we just putting the word out. Next slide. Okay, this was the Al Sharpton March or mobilization in DC. We just struck up a strategic position, sold some spears, got the word out, got a few contacts. Not nearly enough. We had a very small force out that day.
Yeah, this speaks to the importance of having a significant reach in the northern region. When something like this is happening, where it's going to be thousands of Africans in one place, African People's Socialist Party has to be in place, and we have to be organized around it. It doesn't make sense where it's Kiangozi and a few forces and we're only getting a few contacts. And so this speaks to a whole, infrastructure, a whole, unity issue, a whole contradiction within our work that will be overturned. I'm confident that it will be. But, nevertheless, we were there and we were able to put out African internationalism.
Next slide.
Next slide.
And here's some more on the Black People's March. The picture on the right is in the midst of Black Lives Matter Plaza, where we pushed through a major crowd to take our stance and get the word out. And I guess the one with Dexter is the one during the march itself. Next slide.
5 minutes.
Next, so we want to talk about the mandate successes and contradictions, although there's a lot of contradictions. And that's okay, because if we don't identify what the contradictions are, then we don't know how to fix it. So I think I appreciate the process of being able to report on the Northern region, because we have to fix what this region is, and we have to overturn all of the contradictions related to our work. So I'm excited about launching and saying what we will do so that we can report, so that we can do the work, right? And then report on all of the successes next year, but also leading up to our 2023 Congress in occupied Tanzania. Next slide. So one of the basis for the contradictions, the basis for the contradictions, and I'm giggling a little bit because we have to, it's not a laughing matter, but it's something that I know we can overturn. But the basis for the contradiction is the ongoing liberalism. And liberalism is something that in our party, we do a lot of work to overturn. Liberalism is something that rots away at the basic principles of organization and really destroys the work. And so for a while, the Northern region has succumbed to liberalism, and part of that is exemplified right now because we don't currently have a Northern regional representative. And that's something that we're going to continue to work on and overturn and destroy, because we have to be the leadership of the African working class, and the African working class leadership can't be liberal. So we're going to work this year to overturn the contradictions of not having a regional leadership. And currently the National Director of Organization, Chimarenga Salambao, who is doing a lot of work right now all over the place throughout the party, is sitting on as the interim regional rep. And that's not where he should be. The region has to solve the problem of the regional rep, and we will do that. We had a regional rep, and Chairman mentioned him earlier in the program. On it was a day 1 or day 2. I'm forgetting which one. But Mutum Omnyobi, who was our previous regional rep, who stepped down because he recognized his own limitations in being able to carry out the regional strategy for the party, but who is a really confident, loyal force in the African People's Socialist Party. However, after, being placed under different trainings around dialectical materialism and other such trainings,